Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. It's that time again, folks. It's time for those that are better than you, holier than thou, to climb on top of their, morality platform to tell you, a grown adult who makes your own money, has a little bit of expendable income for leisure activities in the privacy of your own home, and they have decided that they are going to dictate or attempt, apparently successfully, dictate what you can and cannot purchase in the land of make-believe fiction video games, and likely it will not stop there. So rest assured, this is something I'm a little bit, well, we'll see where this goes. Anyway, over on that Park Place, we'll start here. Visa and MasterCard. This article from Marvin Montanaro. Visa and MasterCard are reportedly censoring video games. No, they're not. That's incorrect. On games alongside Australian activist group Collective Shout. They are pushing distributors like Steam and itch.io to do the censoring by threatening to pull their, what's the word? Well, I guess the use of Visa and MasterCard is a bit sketchy. And like I said, and I'll probably say it a whole lot in this video, so bear with me, folks. Where does it stop? Because, well, in the realm of fantasy, fantastical fiction, make-believe video games, well, they don't want something. It's going to branch out. They're not going to stop. This collective shout group has no intention of stopping. They've been around since 2010 and are just getting their grubby little mitts on all manner of what they consider dried up bags, hags, twats, what they consider to be exploitative of women. I think maybe let women decide what they want to do, but whatever. Part of the controversy, let's see. In the digital age, where video games represent a multi-billion-dollar industry blending art, entertainment, and expression, a new front in the battle over content control has emerged. This is a battle against censorship. Let people spend their money on what they want as long as there is no actual individual being harmed, regardless of the content. Because my first thought was they want to go out, they're going after video games recently that promote particularly heinous sexual acts that I will not say because YouTube. Are you going after 50 Shades of Grey? Are you going after literature, romance novels that depict the same thing that are quite possibly very popular amongst your bag of hags? New frontline, where are we at? Payment processors like Visa and MasterCard, wielding immense economic leverage, are increasingly dictating what games can and cannot be sold on platforms like Steam. Effectively, I see what you did there, effectively censoring the video game industry. At the heart of the controversy is Collective Shout. Collective Shite, more like it. Australian feminist activist group, and they look exactly what you might expect. That has positioned itself as a catalyst, they've been around since 2010, pressuring these financial giants to enforce moral standards on global gaming. Again, stop trying to push your moral nonsense on other people. Let people do what thou wilt. If you firmly believe what you believe, freedom to do what you want, then let people do what you want. Stop trying to dictate, because the more you try to push, the more you try to dictate what people can and cannot enjoy, the more pushback you are going to get. And for some reason, I've never heard of these people until recently when they started messing with gamers. I'm not going to sit here and kink shame a lot of these games that they describe and they talk about. Not something I'm ever going to be interested in, but hey, you do you, boo. Get your rocks off however you see fit. Get your entertainment. I don't understand 50 Shades of Grey. I have no interest in romance novels, but it's a very exceptionally popular theme, genre across the entertainment industry. But hey, long as everybody's an adult and they are all consenting to all these activities, well then, who's getting hurt besides your, delicate, unattractive, unwanted, unloved sensibilities? As of July 21st, 2025, this alliance has led to the removal of hundreds, I believe the count is 500 on Steam, adult themed games. If you think they're going to stop there, you are fooling yourself. Sparking outrage over free speech, cultural fucking what? Cultural imperialism? Huh? Corporate overreach? Yes, definitely. This isn't about niche content. It's a system of a broader trend where private companies act as de facto censors, de facto moral arbiters of what you can and cannot enjoy in the privacy of your own home. Did I mention I was going to say all that kind of stuff a lot? But, you know, whatever. While proponents frame it as a victory for child safety. Bullshit. Because these are adult games. So you have to have you got to be a certain age to buy this stuff, folks. You do. Adult entertainment for adults, where you have to be an adult to purchase and enjoy these games. Now, what if, the parents are buying the stuff? Well, then you go after the parents for their piss poor parenting. Or maybe the parent says, this ain't so bad. And you sell it to the kids like, well, Grand Theft Auto. Oh my God, it's digital boobies and murder and stuff. That's another thing. They talk about the unsavory, despicable acts against women in the video games. But what about I shouldn't give them any ideas, but they're not going after the violence in video games, which is just as bad, if not worse, than some of the other stuff. This is ridiculous. Hypocritical at best, nonsensical at worst. Maybe I got that backwards. Steam's sudden purge. There was something I had in here before I get on to my future, my next... Here we go. So they're going after the payment processors, which is a bit despicable in and of itself, because Steam, old Gabe, was ignoring them. Rightfully so, because eat the D. We're going to move on with our lives. Adults, we're just going to host the games. And adults, you know, the people who can pick and choose for themselves what they do and what they don't want to play, because that's what adults do. It's fiction. It's make-believe. Digital. It's digital ones and zeros, or ones and zeros with a digital avatar on the screen. I think that's what I usually say. It's fantasy. It's make-believe. It's nonsense. They're not going to stop at those games. Anyway, Visa and Mastercard's role is pivotal, given their near duopoly on global payments, processing over 90%. That's a bit ridiculous. Didn't PayPal do something about this as well? Or do something like this? Restricting what you can and cannot buy through their services? I guarantee you the number of people complaining to Visa that someone else can purchase adult content. What's going to happen to the novelty toy industry with stuff like this? Or are you not going after them because you need your little bobs in your purses, in your closets, in your basements? Collective shout. Because no one else would touch you with a 10-foot... Well, they wouldn't touch you with someone else's penis. Have you seen the pictures of these women? I'm not showing them. Unless I got to get rid of cockroaches. Anyway, I'm horrible. Their policies prohibit facilitating high-risk content. Who are you, Visa and MasterCard, to dictate what people can buy? But ultimately, a lot of people are talking about, go after Visa and MasterCard. They're the ones that bent the knees. Like, yeah, but morons, individuals like... I already forgot their name, and I really don't care. What's their name? I'm going to get to this one. Collective Shout. They're the ones that started this nonsense. So you start there. You take them down. You fight back against them, and you take them down. Moving on to itch.io, I have to commend them. They had a knee-jerk reaction to all this nonsense because, well, Collective Shout went after Steam. Steam said nothing. Itch.io said nothing. Didn't do anything. So when Collective Shout started writing their letters or sending their emails or whatever to Visa and MasterCard acted, and well, places like Steam and itch.io you can't fight that. You still need to make money. So unfortunately, knee-jerk reaction. And here is their statement. We have de-indexed all adult NSFW content from our browse and search pages, unfortunately. We understand this action is sudden and disruptive, and we are truly sorry for the frustration and confusion caused by this change. I do not fault them because you still have to run a business. And you got to figure stuff out. When Visa and MasterCard says, shut this down immediately or you make zero money and probably withhold funds as well, which is despicable in and of itself, should not be allowed to be done, how do you react? How do you respond? What do you do after that? Well, unfortunately, itch.io made a decision. Recently, we came under scrutiny from our payment processors regarding the nature of some content hosted on itch.io due to a game titled No Mercy. I heard about that game, not something I would ever play, but to ban it? It's make-believe, okay? It's fake. Do you understand that 50 Shades of Grey was a national bestseller? Do you know what that movie was about, that book series was about? Huh? Yeah. Don't argue with me about it. It wasn't good. And I'm not just talking about the writing. Due to the game titled No Mercy, which was temporarily available on itch.io before being banned back in April, the organization Collective Shout, they called him out by name. Sorry, guys, Collective Shout is coming after us. And when you come after gamers, we start getting mouthy and rowdy and start running our mouths. Now, what's going to become of all that exposition, I don't know. But it's one of those things where you just pay attention, start talking about it, and I don't know, maybe get in touch with the right people, senator, congressman, start blowing up their phones. Do the same thing that Collective Shout is doing. Fill up somebody's phone, their messaging, with what you're not happy about. See where it goes. Who knows? But what do I know? Organization Collective Shout launched a harassment campaign, against Steam and itch.io, directing concerns to our payment processes about the nature of certain content found on both platforms. Now, a lot of the discussion is talking about not safe for work content, mainly the bobas, the gooner games, or whatever you want to call it. But something, I believe, came out from good old Martin of Mouthwashing. Now, stay with me, folks. I got all the information. And I got something to say about this. You judge. I'm going to go through the information. Of course, Mouthwashing got yoinked from itch.io search results. Not surprised, was kind of waiting for it to happen. Has been backed into a corner, yada, yada, yada. Wait, why? Payment processors. So, Martin here is claiming that Mouthwashing got delisted. And of course, good old Hypnotic. I'm going to read everything he's got to say, because I think he says it very well. His sentiment is one that I will mirror, that I firmly stand behind. And then we'll get to more the update on Mouthwashing. Glad I didn't make this video earlier. So anyway, Mouthwashing, smash hit or indie horror game, has been delisted. At least that's what we were told by one of the developers. I went to the website to verify and indeed can no longer find the game. Went to Steam, it's still there because it's just a horror game, right? It's just a horror game. There's no possible way they're going to go after that. Except, maybe they will. Where are they going to stop? Involving maybe the sexualization, the abuse of the femmes. There's a whole bunch of games out there where the core point of the story is... Anyway, Silent Hill, maybe, perhaps. You really thought this was just going to be just Gooner games. You really thought it was just the chuds. Oh, they have no intention, because they are not... They are not one-sided in this. If anything, they're more like the Bible-thumping, uber-conservative holy rollers back in, what, the 70s and 80s and today, that claim that, oh, that's just the porn game because she's shaking her butt in a bikini. Oh, Dungeons and Dragons is for the devil. Ozzy Osbourne is getting kids. Yeah, anyway, I'm 51 years old, ladies and gentlemen. I have been through this way too many times to, well, I'm torn between taking them seriously and at the same time realizing that if we don't shut this shit down quick, fast, and in a hurry, it will get worse. They will come after anything and everything that they do not like, that they see as, you shouldn't have to be able to play that. It's bad for your psychological well-being. I know the Wokies really celebrated this game. Hell, they hated on Asmongold when was playing it when he did. Now, I do remember that. They came out and Asmongold decided to play Mouthwashing. He thoroughly enjoyed it, and they came out and said, oh no, I can't believe. They panicked, they cried, because Asmongold, Captain Roach himself, was playing their beloved game. And they said, we don't want you playing our game. Now, on one hand, if their game actually got delisted, which it didn't, we're getting there, then one would celebrate that, ha ha ha, you get what you deserve. But that is not how I deal with censorship. Sometimes, common enemy makes very strange bedfellows. I don't care if I like you as a dev. I don't care if you hate me as a content creator, a gamer, a chud, a man, a white man. I don't care about any of that stuff. I think you should be free to say and create whatever sort of fiction you want to and let the market decide on whether or not you'd be able to stick around. I don't care what you think of me. I care about what you think of me about as much as I care about the ants that I walk on every day throughout average everyday life. They don't know who I am, but I am a catastrophe. I am the end of the world to them. I unfortunately don't even notice them, much like many of the insects and bugs that we run across on a day-to-day basis. That was a weird tangent. Censorship is bad, okay? Let's keep going. Still want them on your podcast? Hell no. Well, a little bit extra stuff came out. Like I said, gonna go with the theme with Hypno here. GameStop has updated an article they dropped on mouthwashing, apparently claiming that Itio has responded and said that mouthwashing hasn't been indexed since 2024. Get to that in a moment. If this is true, then the screenshots prior of the mouthwashing musician is either him knowingly lying or unknowingly lying. Regardless, and I'll agree with this one, I'll leave that up for you to decide. And yes, that is a decision. Was he trying to piggyback on the, oh my god, censorship, they're coming after our games, to drum up some publicity for his game? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he made a mistake. You decide for yourself. Doesn't change that, as Hypno says, doesn't change that other horror games have been taken down during this time, all because they don't like what you're doing in a fantasy game. So here we have here, ED Darkness says mouthwashing is still delisted. Well, itch.io specifically says hasn't been indexed since October 2024 since it doesn't meet our indexing criteria. They are using a download button as a link to Steam. The developer took down any playable file from his page in 2024. Again, make that decision for yourself. Now, keep forgetting because I don't care about these people. The Collective Shout. I guess I should. I'm not saying that right. They are, I'll think of something on what I consider them. I probably can't say them on YouTube. Definitely can't say them on Twitter. Steam campaign timeline. They have a big, long, drawn-out list, a timeline of events, not just this, but of what they've done on their website, if you want to check it out for yourself. So, and I do just simply mean if you want to check it out and read over it and see what they've been doing since 2010 or the most recent events. There is no underlying message. Moving on. In response to false claims and misinformation about our campaign, people believe that you went after horror games that you felt were entirely too not safe for work, that you were going after specific particular types of games, and when Steam and itch.io ignored you, you went after the credit card companies and got them to force everyone's hand. So that's what these claims are. That's what we believe. So let's see what they have to say in defense. Some have asked why we've involved payment processors when you shouldn't have. Others have claimed that we are responsible for itch.io removing all not safe for work content. It's because you are. It's because you are. Okay? You force people to respond with a knee-jerk. Well, I'm going to figure out how to talk. You forced their hand, and in order to fully comply and make sure there wasn't any, I guess, anything slipping through the cracks, their knee-jerk reaction was to pull it all and go through it piece by piece. So, yes, you are responsible. You started it. They say we raised our objections to that games on Steam for months, and they ignored us for months. Rightfully so, because adults can make the decision for themselves on what they want to and what they don't want to buy. It is not you to make that decision. You are not the moral arbiter of anyone but yourself. Piss off. We approached payment processors because Steam did not respond to us. Yeah, so what you did just now with that statement is you admitted that you're doing exactly what these so-called false claims and misinformation about our campaign. You said exactly what we thought you did. So what? We called on itch.io to remove that stuff. games that we argued normalized violence and abuse of women, even though there is absolutely not a single study. This is what I find interesting and what I'll bring up at all times. If there was a single conclusive study that showed these types of games, whether they are overly sexual, overly violent, Grand Theft Auto, whatever games they're talking about that wanted to remove the those two things. Graping. We'll go with graping. Can we do that? If there was a single study that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that this were true, that it normalized violence and abuse, that it promoted real-world violence against anyone, that study would be plastered everywhere, all the time. But you don't see that. And do you know why? Because it doesn't exist. Because there is no proof whatsoever that this statement is true. Time and time again, no matter what politician you hear, no matter what lawmaker or what religious, fundamentalist, feminist group wants to run their mouth, they cannot provide the evidence for this claim. Because if they could, again, one single study, and they can't bring it at all. Our objections were to content that involved sexualized violence and torture of women. I heard, it may have been Madam Savvy, one of the main customers for that type of video game is women. Is that true? Because, I mean, if you, again, I keep bringing up 50 Shades of Grey, and that whole book series wasn't a bunch of dudes reading the BDSM abuse. That was not BDSM, that was abuse. Okay? Talk to anyone in the BDSM community, and they will say, the books are shit, that's abuse. That is just straight up abuse. But there were national bestsellers. Okay? National bestsellers. It's not dudes buying those. Sorry. So you're full of shit. Let's keep going. Bounding into comics came over here with a nice little thing. Collective Shout are now stockpiling personal information and family data on creators, Smash JT and Madam Savvy, and more. So they're going to start doxing people? I mean, pretty sure Smash already got doxed before. Thank you, Alyssa Mercanti. I don't know about Madam Savvy, who's very open about her degeneracy, or, you know, what some might consider degeneracy. She's a weird one. Anyway, so Mafia-like tactics. Well, it's definitely Mafia-like tactics already because, well, if you're not going to listen, we're going to go after your payment processors, your money. Is there anything else I have on this one? I believe that's going to be it. So, ladies and gentlemen, look forward to this escalating, obviously, because Collective Shout, clout chasers, can't really say they're anything new. Again, they've been around since 2010. This is something coming around yet again, at least for me. Some out there are not old enough to have experienced this, but this is nothing new. We stand up, we fight, we argue, we demand, demand to be allowed to buy what you want. Get in touch with whoever you have to. I genuinely don't know how to fight this other than what I just said. Chances are far better content creators, broader implications, and historical patterns. Let's finish up with this. Censorship wave disproportionately hits Japanese creators, whose cultural norms around fiction differ from Western ones. That's another funny thing. Trying to push your personal belief system or your regional belief system against another country, Western, Eastern, whatever it is, I always find that very odd. But this one, Collective Shout's tactics mirror those of the moral panics. Again, like I said, 1980s video game scares to recent pushes against harmful media, yet evidence... Oh, wait, I mentioned this. Evidence linking fictional content to real harm remains debated, with studies showing no direct causation. Public and industry backlash. There should definitely be backlash from everyone, from customers, from developers. And I think there's even some backlash from some of the, well, what I've always called usual suspects around there. Some websites, some so-called journalist websites out there. I wonder, is this possible when you have a group going so heavy-handed with the censorship hammer that your little kink, your little, maybe not fetish, but your little interest in the horror genre, perhaps, maybe there's a little bit too much abuse against that female character in the horror game, where it's fitting, where it makes sense, but these carpet bags don't, carpetbagger? Don't mix those two up. These slags don't differentiate the two. They believe that you shouldn't be allowed to play it. Where does it stop? Where do we let it stop? When do we fight back? But now, I think now, let's do that. The more people that make videos on this, the more it can get out there. And that's all going to be a talk about. I stumble over my words. That's all I'm going to say about this one on this time. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all those nifty little things that YouTube is begging to do. And if you made it this far, many thanks. Hope to see you on the next one.